Tackling the oldest surviving story of all time, Christopher Nolan delivers his adaptation of The Odyssey, making history as the first full-length feature shot completely in IMAX, and maybe the loudest too. Both an epic journey and a monster movie, it tackles the effects of war and one man's ultimate ego death on his journey home.
And not only did this movie raise hell, it also raised hella questions for me. Like, is Zeus's law what the people was following before the 10 Commandments dropped?
Please, Ray.
I don't want to hear from the church folks out there. I did go to Vacation Bible School, but you know, sometimes time loses me like it does for Christopher Nolan.
Please.
Also, is Odysseus like the worst travel agent of all time? Because treating a life-threatening monster island like it's a Royal Caribbean or a Carnival shore excursion is truly sick work, and why I do not prefer cruises.
Oh, that is why.
And again, why do white people love their damn dog revenge stories so much?
Now, you on to something there.
It's movie day. I'm Ray Love Jr.
And I'm Tre'vell Anderson.
And we are Seated, the blackest show about movies.
Yes. Welcome to Seated. If you are new here, welcome to the congregation. Take a seat, grab a plate. We don't bite, okay? And if you've been here before, you know the drill. Make sure you're liking, you're commenting, and you're subscribing and telling folks about the wonderful conversations we're having over here at Seated.
And while you're telling people about those conversations, be sure to tap into our Seated Movie Club so you can meet some folks like you who love the movies just as much as we do by joining our club at seatedshow.com/join. You know, we got more of this popcorn-worthy energy. We give you a little bit of exclusive content. Eventually, we'll be planning some events that we want to tap y'all into. And, you know, Tre'vell, something special is in the air. We're getting closer and closer to a special day. So when this episode comes out, yes, we will be in the celebratory window of a birthday. So I want to take this time to say happy birthday and sing my favorite birthday song.
Okay.
The black version, which I think may be a little specific, but happy birthday to you. Yeah! Happy birthday to you. I need a choir. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Yes. I was like, what do you mean specific? Everybody know the Stevie Wonder version.
Not even that version.
Okay, but
yes.
Here we go. I do love that.
And while y'all
version.
are tapping in, please tell Tre'vell and send some wishes for them on their birthday. You know, as we get deeper into these 30s, these birthdays mean more and more, and we want to shower them with love for being our co-conspirator on this mission to instigate the black movie-going experience. So yes.
Shower me with your money.
Of course. Well, I mean, we love that too. What our girl T.S. Madison, that meme.
Okay. Just kidding. Thank you so much for that, Ray. I really appreciate it. Shout out to Leo season. We are here finally. You're welcome. All right.
Yes.
So with that, let's get into our show for today. We've already pre-talked about, before we jumped on, we know that we're going to do a spoiler-filled conversation, okay? We'll do the spoiler-free section and then jump to spoilers because, baby, listen, the Nolan man, Nolan man named Christopher done got a lot going on.
Especially for this to be a story most people know. You know, the literacy rate in our country is crashing at the second, but most of us are very familiar.
It makes me you see them TikToks where they go around asking people to read out sentences and read out words?
Baby.
Read the index card.
The dog's unwatering loyalty. I don't know that word, not even lie. A lot of big words. Emotional dependency, sorry. What's funny?
Nothing. You're doing good.
Okay, I guess. Everybody ain't on a good reading level. I damn sure not.
All right. Read the index card.
The animals, y'all bring closer, I can't read. President, affection, reflected and deeply engraved development, viral resilience.
Read the index card.
Her image, oh my God, meticulously constructed to sustain outward spread. I'd wed, share my thing was meticulously constructed to abstain at Westbridge admiration.
Read the index card.
The deity had a promotion, premo notion of the impending, what the fuck?
Catastrophic event.
Catastrophic event.
Now, how many you think? Never mind. Okay, let's move to
The
our
kids don't even care to learn what the words are, which is what really kills me. Like when I was a young jit, like coming up, if there was something I didn't know, I was at least curious enough to be like, I don't know that, but what does that mean? Like how you pronounce that so that the next time that came around, I wasn't caught slipping and I knew a little bit more. These
Times
kids
are different.
Yeah. My God.
Times are different. You saw Toy Story 5. You know what we're dealing with. Okay,
Yes,
let's
Lord.
move to our Fresh Out segment. These are capsule reviews of other movies that we've seen in the theaters. I know you've been, putting that A-list pass, AMC stubs, whatever it is to work. Okay, so what do you have for us today?
Well, it's summer box office season, and I've actually noticed the box office is considerably lighter than I think I anticipated. Like these studios seem to really just be focusing on like these tentpole releases. And while there are a couple of like mid-budget independent films hitting the theater here and there, the pickings are slim. But I still have seen quite a few movies, but there are two that I think are worth the conversation today. And one of them, I tried to get Tre'vell to engage in conversation with this, but I also was like, let me be for real. I know Tre'vell don't love watching a movie filled with subtitles, and this one definitely has quite a few because it is a foreign film. And that movie is Couture, starring Angelina Jolie.
Hi, Mom. Where are you?
I'm in Paris. I'm doing that fashion thing.
Vous êtes contente d'aller réaliser le film qui ouvrira notre Fashion Week?
Action.
Oui, je me sens très chanceuse. I know you're mad.
What's up? It's more, my option is better, but I'm okay to do yours.
I was scouted on the streets in Nairobi. I'm a risk taker. And voila.
So we're gonna run this way. Shadows following you. Hello?
I've received your results. You'll have to see someone as soon as possible.
But it's not serious, right? I mean, it's not a thing. It's not.
What'd you hear about this movie out in the atmosphere?
I remember when we were debating about whether or not we were going to do an episode on this, I remember taking a look at the trailer and being like, oh, interesting. Angelina's, she's been, her latest roles that she's done have all been really interesting, very like art house-y kinds of projects. And so that's what I remember from that trailer. But how was it?
It was actually, I don't want to say it was good or bad, but I found it compelling.
That's a good answer. That's a good word.
Yeah, just to give the folks at home a background of what the movie is about. Imagine an American filmmaker hitting Paris Fashion Week right as she gets like a devastating breast cancer diagnosis. She's basically intersecting lives with a rookie model and a struggling makeup artist. And it's an emotional drama. I mentioned it stars Angelina Jolie. It crashed out at like a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 2.9 on Letterboxd. And the script is kind of a bit shallow, but I do think Angelina Jolie's performance is interesting in it. But for me, what was compelling about it was the shift in perspectives that I wasn't really anticipating. Like when you have a movie star, movie icon like Angelina Jolie, you don't typically expect them to split screen time with new faces. Like these were the supporting characters that we see different perspectives on aren't actors I was familiar with before. One of them plays, I believe it's Somalian immigrant or Syrian immigrant who is pursuing a career in modeling because her family is like trying to flee the war that's happening in the country. And so she actually says she wants to be like a doctor of some sorts, but she's doing modeling and stumbled upon this big opportunity to like open a show for a big Parisian fashion designer. And so that's one of the perspectives we get. And another perspective we get, which wasn't fully fleshed out enough for me, was the makeup artist that I mentioned, who is essentially writing what I couldn't determine if it was like a news report, a news article, or like a book. But essentially we see those two stories and they all three converge in a way that is really interesting to me. And, you know, typically when we get those cancer story diagnoses, it's typically like that tragic moment for the character where everything becomes about that. But what I loved in this story is that we're seeing Angelina Jolie's character kind of like deal with that while also trying to essentially make a really tough decision at the intersection of like a career making moment for her. And she's also like a mother going through a divorce. So I just found that to be compelling about the movie itself. I would say it probably got such a low rating.
Is what I want.
I'm gonna say seated. I'm gonna say seated, but I'm someone who likes that type of movie. Okay. And again, it's foreign language, so much of it is spoken in French. So it's one of those difficult movies, I think, difficult watches, I think, for that reason. But it's a seated for me. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Shout out to Angelina Jolie. What's your next film that you see recent? This is a big one.
It's a big one,
Quote,
and
unquote.
although it's big, I ain't got much to say about it. I'm gonna just say stream it for obvious reasons, and that movie is Moana. It's the live action remake.
The story has just begun. Beyond our reef, an evil darkness has found us. Moana, the ocean chose you. Find Maui. Restore the heart of Te Fiti and save us all.
Maui, demigod of the wind and sea.
Hero of men.
Huh?
So it goes like this. Maui, shapeshifter, demigod of the wind and sea, hero of men. Ah, women. Women too, men and women.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is a beat for beat remake of the original animation. The only distinguishing character of this movie was that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson played his character IRL, which was to the movie's detriment because I found that whenever that character, Maui, I think is the character's name, whenever he was on screen is when I drifted the most out of the story. I actually found like the opening third of the movie to really be the best part of it because we're getting into like a lot of those emotional beats with main character Moana's family and all of that stuff. And then when she gets back in the final act, like those were all the most interesting parts of the movie. But
You
in the
said
animation,
the worst
similar
part
to
of the movie was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I heard you.
It was, unfortunately, yes.
I heard you.
But remember when we discussed, which I completely forgot this movie released, when we talked about Lilo and Stitch and just how you're able to do less in live action than you are in animation. I was like, the magic of the story in the movie is in the animation. That is where the striking parts of this storytelling exist for me. And so for that reason, stream it, put it on for your kids. But like, do kids not like animation anymore? Like, why is the studio choosing to live action everything? Like when I was a kid, I loved the colors of animation. What's happening?
But here's the thing that we have to remember, right? We're at the tail end in theory of this live action remake of animated stuff. And unfortunately, when you're at the tail end of trends in Hollywood, it's the Black folks, it's the queer folks, it's the Pacific Islanders and Hawaiian folk, right? Who the AAPIs, right? Who our films come last, right? Yeah. You know, just to be quite frank. And so I feel the exasperation that you feel. And also, if I'm not mistaken, Moana's like the first Disney picture to be directed by a Pacific Islander woman, you know, or something like that. It's some title, right? Yeah. I think her name is Dana. Who's behind the film. And so it's like all of these complex layers of it, but you're right. We all tired of it, Disney. And the rest
it's such
of y'all
a fresh
too.
work. Like
Absolutely.
Moana, the original Moana just came out actually 10 years ago, less than 10 years ago, to be honest. And it just feels too recent to want to remake that movie.
I can see that. I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah.
All righty,
but that's it for me.
You said it was a stream it for Moana.
Yeah, it's a stream it.
Okay, well, shout out to streaming. All right, y'all, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into the spoiler-free portion of our review of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey.
Yes, so grab a snack and come on back. Yep. Hey, real quick, let's be so for real right now. It's just me and you. You've been waiting for this big sign to put yourself out there. Well, here it is. Your ideas are way too good and way too heavy to keep sitting on. Remember when Seated was just an endless mess of bullet points in my notes app? The only reason Tre'vell and I have a show that consistently sits in the top 100 on Apple Podcasts film reviews charts is because I stopped playing and I locked in with the Stony Brook University Podcast Incubator. It's an 8-month program that takes your show from a rough concept to a market-ready pilot. They keep the cohorts tiny, like 12 to 15 people, so you get real personalized coaching from industry heavyweights who've produced for WNYC and Spotify. You don't need fancy equipment or even tech skills. They teach you the narrative storytelling, the editing, and how to actually build an audience so you aren't just throwing content out there into the void. Plus, you can do the whole thing completely remotely. Yo, it costs $0 to apply. So stop sitting on your potential. Go apply for the Stony Brook University Podcast Incubator by August 15th at podcastfellows.org/apply. Let's get your show out of the notes app and onto the charts. Christopher Nolan makes his highly anticipated box office return with The Odyssey, directing a large-scale adaptation of Homer's classic epic. Matt Damon stars as Odysseus, fighting his way through mythical monsters to survive a treacherous voyage home after winning the Trojan War with divine intervention from Zendaya as the goddess Athena.
Tell me what you remember.
A wife? A son.
And then what?
We won the war.
Help me go home.
The cast also features an ensemble of Black actors, including Lupita Nyong'o in a dual role as Helen of Troy, and her twin sister, Corey Hawkins as Polybus, and Travis Scott appearing as the Bard. Clocking in at 2 hours and 52 minutes, The Odyssey is rated R and is currently playing in every theater and in every screen format possible nationwide. Mm-hmm. All right, Tre'vell, you know how we do here at Seated. Let's start the conversation by giving the director some. And this week's director, I know we know hella facts about him. So what do we know about Mr. Christopher Nolan?
Yes, Christopher Nolan, not a unfamiliar name to many of us. Most recently, and then I'll work my way backwards. Most recently, he did Oppenheimer. I'm sure you all will remember, what was it called? Barbenheimer? The epic showdown between Barbie and Oppenheimer. And so that was his latest. He won Best Picture and I believe Best Director.
They swept
at the
Best Picture, Director,
Oscars.
Actor, Supporting Actor, Cinematography, Editing, Score. Child.
Yeah,
yes,
they did amazing that year. Other notable films in his discography. I'm gonna highlight the ones that I've seen, which I ain't seen all of these. But Tenet, I actually haven't seen Tenet, but that was the one before Oppenheimer with John David Washington as the lead. But Christopher Nolan's also known for a suite of the Batman movies: Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises, Inception. Right? Another big budget, film. Christopher Nolan's really someone who, beyond his work, is really they're considered like a titan for the art and the craft of film. He's currently the president of the Directors Guild of America, which is one of the guilds, one of the unions in Hollywood, and so he's been using that platform specifically to resist AI and establish particular kinds of parameters there. That kind of a positioning shows up in his work often because he doesn't use a lot of CGI. And so a lot of the special effects and whatnot that you see in his stuff is like, you know, huge animatronic like set pieces, right? Yeah. And so it kind of helps separate him from many of his other compadres, if you will. But he's really one of those like ultimate auteur types. We were talking about before we hopped on how just about every film, if not every film that he has directed, he also wrote. And so that's a particular kind of control over the vision, right, of what we're seeing on screen. I do want to shout out his wife, who is his longtime producing partner. So she too has a role to play in these films and what we see. And she's been by his side this entire almost 30 year career of his. So I just want to shout that out. But yeah, the film itself, as you've already mentioned, it's done gangbusters already. It's the highest opening of the year. And it certainly will be one of the highest grossing films of the year once it's all said and done.
Yeah. And I think one of the key features of his directing or storytelling style that's really his signature is important to call out here is his approach to telling stories is nonlinear. Like he loves bouncing back and forth between timelines, which really worked in a specific way in this story because, as we've been saying, The Odyssey is one of those stories that most of us are familiar with.
Generally speaking, at least.
Generally, yeah. And he's also someone who's become known to like maximize the IMAX format in a way. And this movie is the first ever feature-length film that was shot in IMAX and also used practical effects versus like heavy CGI, which because of, you know, some of the scenes in this movie could have easily been CGI'd. So these are things that like I appreciate him for. And also, you know, he's also someone who like one of our favorite, noted favorite directors looks up to and like sees as a mentor, and that's Ryan Coogler. So I kind of see a lot of like the influence that Ryan pulls from his films, especially with the collaboration that he has with the composer Ludwig Göransson. And like some of what as I was watching with the scoring happening in this movie, the styles and the sounds pairing with like what we saw on screen called me back to a lot of moments in Sinners for like dramatic beats. And so Christopher Nolan's influence is like all over, I think, the industry at this point in a way that I don't know that I really knew because he wasn't someone I was tapped into as far as like following his career per se, but I have seen his movies like we kind of like slightly discussed.
He don't need nobody to follow his career. He doing just fine. He don't need no fans. You know what I mean? But I also think part of this to note is, you know, he's one of those directors that has just jumped from big project to big project to big project, particularly over the last, 10 years or so, 15 years. And this is after having, I think his considered breakout film was in, was it 2000, I believe? Premiered at Sundance, etc. And then pretty much from there, you know, has had a movie come out every 2 to 3 years, which, you know, just for the record, the Black people not doing it like that.
Hell, actually, white directors too. Like, it's very rare you see someone be able to this economy, like put out a movie at this scale every 3 years. That's wild.
Absolutely. But you know, the man brings in money at the box office, so the studios are going to give that coin. What was your, you know, theatrical experience like? You saw it multiple times? Did you just see this one once?
So for this movie, Tre'vell, I thought because of the length of it, I would only have the attention span and interest to see it just one time. But surprisingly, in opening weekend alone, I saw this movie thrice. 3 times.
Why would you do that? First of all, that's disrespectful to Ryan Coogler. Okay.
Well, I saw Ryan Coogler's movie 17 times, Sinners. I saw the movie 17 times.
But how many times opening week?
Oh, opening weekend, I also saw that movie like 4 or 5 times too.
Okay,
like,
I'll let it pass.
Yeah.
I'll let it pass.
Yeah. But I found myself wanting to like see this movie again and again the more I engage with content and criticism of the film. So, before going into a movie, I do not engage with much material. Like, I'm someone who likes to go in raw. I barely like watching trailers. I really only started watching trailers now because we do this show. But the minute I left, I struck up the podcast that talked about it. I went and found the reviews that were out available about it. As they were sharing their perspectives on things, I was like, oh, I got to watch this now with this different context. And so I went in the second time watching it specifically with like an eye on the Ludwig score and how that really helped push the story forward. And that viewing experience was so different the second time around, looking at that just specifically. And then the third time I went to see it, I saw it after going back and watching the Emmy-winning, actually, miniseries that was done based on the Odyssey, Homer's Text, back in 1997 that starred our girl Vanessa Williams. Did you see that by chance? It was a TV
Hell no,
movie.
you know I ain't see that.
So I went back and watched that after my second viewing just to compare approaches to like how they interpreted the story because
baby, you got a lot of time on your hands to see this 3-hour movie 3 times and you watched the Emmy-winning series? Sister.
But it was that just goes to show how kind of like enmeshed this story got me in a way because I really didn't have time, but it was one of those things that I made time for. And so that was why. And I went each time by myself. Like I didn't take a crew this time. I went at different times of day. Of course, every single screening was packed. I was just like in awe of the energy in the room. Like I love when people get excited and energized about movies. And I just love being in that space. And so I kind of OD'd on it a little bit opening weekend, but can you blame it, brother? What was your experience? Like, how did you go see it?
I've seen it once.
Fair.
And I'm only going to see it once. With all respect to how handsomely, I like how Angelica described it. Angelica Jade Bastian was on the Sam Sanders show talking about this movie, and I like how she described it as being handsomely made. Such a precise adjective. Oh, I love it. Anyway,
another adjective she used in that to describe it was gnarly. Like she loved the word gnarly.
I'm not a gnarly girl. That's a little outside outside my cultural bandwidth. But yeah, so I saw it on a Saturday afternoon. It was it was completely packed for the most part. But I saw it in like regular. It's not regular, but I didn't see it in IMAX. I didn't see it in IMAX, the 70mm, or those special formats. I saw it in a quote unquote regular format. I think it's called like Prime or XL or something like that at AMC. And yeah, it was the kind of experience where like, first of all, people were there early. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
You know me, I like to skate in, in the last 2 minutes, when Nicole Kidman is on the screen, that's when I want to walk in. Huh? Okay. And it was great to watch the movie with people, to your point, who were excited to see the movie, right? Who were buckled in for this 3-hour experience. And yeah, it my viewing experience was solid overall.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did not see it in any of those special formats, particularly 4DX.
Oh, I wasn't doing the 40X. I don't need that. I never need 40X.
Baby, I've been seeing videos of people being rocked. Okay.
No.
Because of the movie.
You know what format I would have liked to see this in, though? now that I think about it, is the Screen X. Are you familiar with Screen X? It's essentially the format that wraps around the auditorium. I just wonder what that would have been like to be in the ocean.
Oh, I'm okay.
With, Odysseus and the crew.
I'm okay. My anxiety bad enough, honey. But I was happy to have seen it in the quote unquote basic or regular way that I saw it. Because I think my lens, and we'll get into this in the review, but I just think the lens that I can bring to the discourse for the regular version is somewhat different than the responses that I've seen from the folks who've seen it in 70 millimeter or 4DX or IMAX or whatever. So that was my viewing experience overall.
Yeah, I'm not really a format snob in that way. While I appreciate the expansion of picture that we get in like an IMAX 70 millimeter experience, I again indulged heavily in that for Sinner's Run. I'm not somebody who really needs that. I did see this in IMAX, but it wasn't the 70 millimeter IMAX. I also saw it in Dolby and AMC Prime. And of all those experiences, I actually think surprisingly, the Prime experience felt the most effective.
That might have been the
most
one I've
moving.
seen.
Yeah, because they have like rattling seats in like just in the way of sound rattling, but not like actual moving. So I appreciated that. And like I saw a lot of people on the timeline talking about they felt like the movie was too loud and too dark. And I was just like,
agreed.
What do you think a movie is? What?
Agreed.
What is it, Tre'vell? Why don't y'all like loudness in movies? That's why I go
it's not about
it's
not about it being loud for loud's sake is not useful. It's distracting. Right? Like it's one thing to be loud. It's another thing for the movie to be so loud that you actually lose dialogue.
Is that what I didn't?
But it's going to be different. It's gonna. I think it's also based on where you sit in the theaters, depending on what your sound situation is. I thought the sound overall was good in terms of that enveloping feeling. To your point, but it was too loud. In my theater,
since
at
you don't
least.
Do you think this loud thing is an age thing? Are you getting old, Tre'vell?
Wow.
And how do you feel about Beyonce's B-Day album? Because we know that is the loud album of them all.
Well, now how Beyonce get in it?
Because my girl is she's ever present in my world.
Oh, okay. And Beyonce sitting somewhere like how I get in it. They was talking about the dang on Odyssey. Okay.
Yes.
But I just it was loud, and maybe that's a comment on other movies and not on right the Odyssey. Maybe that's a comment on the sound of other movies that we have been missing, perhaps. Right. And so when we get it and hear it in this, it strikes us as different or odd or too loud. I think that's a possibility, but it was a note that I made at multiple points throughout my viewing. I was like, "Ooh, girl, do I need to get me a little hearing aid or something?"
Yeah, and people were saying it felt dark too, which I didn't quite understand because I felt like each scene, when it came to the lighting, was appropriate for what they were trying to convey. Like when we were in hell, it was deep and dark and moody. When we were on the island with Calypso, it was bright. When we were at Ithaca, it was pretty well lit. So it was just like, I mean, it will be dark and shadowy in places that don't have much sunlight, but I wasn't, affected by the darkness of the picture, I guess. But
I think the point with that kind of critique, though, because I also feel that way, is that when you are making the kind of use of technology that he is making, and particularly with this expanded screen, right, that the IMAX gives us, in theory, those other things that you have opened up the screen for us to absorb, we should be able to see those things. Or otherwise, why open up the screen? Why not just keep us here? If everything once you open it doesn't matter, And so I think there were some instances where that darkness, I think, clouds some of the other additional work that is happening in a scene beyond the person's face, right? That is at the center. It wasn't distracting to me, to be clear, but it was something that I also noted. But overall, what was your feeling of the movie? Because we've dived into some craft things with it without even saying how we felt about the movie, child. Top line, how do you feel about the movie?
Yeah, this is that type of movie for sure. Like it got me thinking and wanted to talk about it, and it has a timeline jumping. So I appreciate that. But to be honest, I had quite a bit of indifference on this movie when it was first announced that Christopher Nolan was doing an adaptation of the Odyssey. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why I was so disinterested. And Kid Fury actually mentioned not caring to see this movie on the last episode of The Read. And I tweeted at him and was like, you need to see this movie because I get it. Like, for the same reason I was not interested in just the idea of watching the Odyssey. I was like, this was like a white movie that is just old and dated. Why are we doing this? But as I sat with it, I realized that this story, the Odyssey, like Homer's Odyssey, was kind of seminal to my awakening in like my educational interests. Walk with me. I hardly ever really talk about this because I don't think I'm like a nerd in that way. But when I was in high school, I was enrolled in the IB program, like the International Baccalaureate program, which is a high academic program for folks to take, courses at like a collegiate level, essentially.
You were smart. Just say you were smart.
Whatever. But
you was in the talented and gifted program.
Which is a part of the system as I learned going through and matriculating through school. But anyway, in the program, this was one of the first texts that was a part of our modules as like a freshman in high school. And I recall us dragging out this poem for weeks to the point of it feeling like suffering. Like I felt like Odysseus on that damn raft by the end of going through this. And that was the first time where I was like, am I really interested in like education at this level? Like, am I intellectual in this way? Like, is that where my interest lies? And eventually at a point when it was time to like really get serious in IB program by junior year, I was like, I actually don't want to do this. Can I enter a performing arts program because I was more interested in your arts? And I am an IB program dropout, proudly. But I engaged in this text in that way, which is why I wasn't interested in the story. All of that context to say, there are a lot of things to love about this movie. And one of the things I appreciated most about Christopher Nolan's adaptation of the Odyssey is really how he subverts what we have colloquially come to understand the specific Trojan War to be as like a hero tale. And he made it a more complex, like inner struggle for Odysseus as the victor who was responsible for like a lot of destruction because of like his own strategy and ego. And that complication of the character alone was enough to grip me as a viewer. But then he takes it a step further by giving nearly all of the supporting characters connected to Odysseus more interiority than the original text offers. And we really get to like the motivations or circumstances that led to each of the characters' defining moments, or what led them to making decisions that placed them into the plot of like the broader Odyssey that we're seeing unfold. And so those are the things that pulled me in, making this experience worthwhile. What about you? Like, what were your initial feelings coming out of the theater on this?
It's a great movie. It's a well-made movie. It earns the 3-hour time thing, even though it don't need to be 3 hours, to be clear.
Yeah.
We could have cut at least 45 minutes, from this.
Would you have been satisfied if it cut at that point, though? Really?
Yes, I would. I would have been. I would have been satisfied. Absolutely.
For me, I actually was surprised that I didn't feel the runtime as much coming out of this movie as I did in like the last work I watched from Christopher Nolan. Oppenheimer, to me, I felt like, okay, we could have cut this movie at the halfway point. Like, I didn't need as much of that movie as we got for this. But I think because Christopher Nolan took us through so many like specific scenes and sets in a more beyond the shallow surface of the story, I don't know. I really appreciated it in a way. Like, it felt like a journey worth going on for 2 hours and 52 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah. So to be clear, I think the movie as it is at 3 hours, I'm not saying that it felt long or it felt laborious or that 90 minutes in I felt it and I was ready to leave. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there is a lot of additional exposition that has been injected into this story. Some of it great, some of it not great, to the point where 45 minutes of this could have been removed, and I think it would have still been as impactful and as, box office Titan-y and as major, right, of a film as it is. But it is quite a feat to do a 3-hour movie that doesn't feel like 3 hours. But I think I think just because he has weaved these mini stories and the timelines, in the ways that he has, successfully, right? Which is something we know him to do. That's what Inception is in a lot of ways. That's what, you know what I mean? That this isn't his first time, to your point that you made earlier, engaging in this kind of style of storytelling. And so he's a professional at it, and it does work. And also I think that my overall take of this movie is that in how it is made, it is a feat, and it shows so many, right, what is possible, right, when it comes to the filmmaking, when it comes to the tool and the art of filmmaking. It in and of itself is like super epic, right? Even as it tells the story of an epic. But I do think it suffers under the weight of what it is demonstrating as possible.
Yeah.
Because some people don't have checks and balances to pull them back.
But for the sake of our conversation, and speaking of like runtime, I don't want this to be a Christopher Nolan length episode. However, I do want to ask you
we won't be here that long, y'all. I promise.
In our spoiler-free section, that I think will give the folks who haven't seen the movie enough to go in with, and kind of just massage the mentees a little. But first question I want to ask you: even if it's not explicitly a Black movie, did you feel like there were any underlying themes, humor, or like relationships dynamics that are specifically going to resonate with our folks or get like Black Twitter talking? How does that land for you?
I think Lupita Nyong'o has a particular moment that Black folks and Black women especially may respond to in a kind of way. And I think there are also some just like other, particularly for the churchy Blacks, there are some other, religious imagery and context and like stuff that I feel like pops up in various different ways. If anything is going to get, so-called Black Twitter talking, I think it is actually a scene that ain't got nothing to do with the Black people. In this, because to me, there's one scene that is the best scene of the movie, and that'll get everybody talking, regardless of your identities and what you bring to it. But it is interesting to see Black people, right, cast in these roles in this world where we often aren't.
Yeah. One last question before we hop into our spoiler-filled conversation. I want to get into like how this movie made you feel. So if you had to describe the primary emotional state this movie puts you in, what is it? Are we walking out feeling seen and joyful? Are we walking out stressed and needing a nap? How are you feeling walking out?
How was I feeling? So, the movie was quite affecting. I shed a tear by the end. I did. It was just one like Denzel Washington in Glory, but it was a tear nonetheless. And it is an affecting film. I think the primary emotional state throughout the entire movie, though, is like it was a mixture of, for me, if I can be honest. I had a lot of anxiety around the more fantastical, if you will, parts of the story, the excursion, the journey. And then I had a lot of rage as it relates to what goes on with Anne Hathaway's character and Spider-Man's character. What's his name? Tom's character. And like their navigating of the suitors. It gave me a lot of rage. But it was a ride. The entire film was a ride and an enjoyable one. What would you say was the primary emotional state the movie put you in?
I felt I don't know if I wasn't emotionally stirred, but I was very satisfied as like a movie watcher in a way that you don't get a lot of on the movie calendar this year. And it just felt like I went to see a movie, like capital C cinema. And I appreciated that. Like I love being able to just give myself away to a story that I'm being told and made to believe kind of like what the narrative is. And for that, that's kind of where I landed on it. And I think before we hop, it's important to remind people, because there's a lot of discourse that happened before this movie came out, that this story, the Odyssey, the original text itself, is not a historical text. This is fiction. These people are characters, and stories are things that are imagined. It's a tale. So like if you go in, we're not looking for historical accuracies in a way that you would from something that is considered a historical text, because people, to your point, were stirred up specifically over on the Elon Musk side of the world about Lupita playing Helen of Troy, who's supposed to be the face that launches 1,000 ships. And I was like, I appreciated Christopher Nolan's take on that, because Black people did exist in ancient Greece. Black people did exist in this world, in the real world of this thing. However, again, this is not historical text. So to that point, I think we're ready to jump on over to the spoiler-filled portion of the conversation and do a deep dive in here. Unless there's something else, I see your eyebrow furrowing over there. Are you ready?
Let's jump to the spoilers. Let's jump to the spoilers. We're gonna run a little clip,
see y'all on the other side.
And then we'll see you on the other side. Yes.
There are parts of the world that I don't think I would even have ever seen or known about had it not been for this experience. As an actress, it's such a luxury to be in such an immersive space. I don't have to pretend like I'm on a boat. I am on the boat, like we are at sea.
We're shooting in Nestor's Cave in Greece. It's this incredible place, but nobody's ever tried to shoot a film up there. And so to see the rigging that they did to basically turn it into a natural soundstage, I don't know any other director who would try it.
There was no location that was straightforward and easy, but all of those locations made sense for the story, really. It wouldn't be the film that it is without going there and doing it for real.
The scale was so big. I think what's so special about Chris's movies is that he goes the extra distance to make it feel authentic for us on set, which then makes it feel more authentic for the audience in the theater.
I mean, there's a reason we call these things Odysseys. This is the Odyssey, and it really is a journey through all of these incredible places, and hopefully something that just really profoundly entertains and moves people.
As a fan, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to sit in that IMAX theater and completely be lost in this world that he's created.
All right, Tre'vell, we are now here to like really dive into the story of the Odyssey as told by Christopher Nolan. Is there a specific place that you would like to start the conversation? I'm going to put the ball in your court.
I just want the best scene of the movie. The best scene of the movie is the scene with Cersei turning the men on the ship in the pigs into exactly what they are. Oh, baby, when she said that, I said, oh, y'all ate this. That entire scene, that entire sequence and scene, masterful. Masterful.
Okay. I'm glad you're starting at your favorite scene because in this movie, we have a lot of like big set pieces. I think we should also call out that this movie takes place or production takes place across 3 different continents for production, which again, to the point of directors not having this access to make films this vastly and broadly is something worth noting. Like, this man shot this film in 6 different countries, Tre'vell: Morocco, Greece, Italy, Iceland, the United Kingdom and Scotland, Malta, and the US. And I appreciated his intention on making this a practical film in the way that he's known to. Like, we see these vistas, we see these landscapes, we see the ocean, we see damn dolphins swimming as they're on the ship, which was actually not staged. Like, I saw some clips going around about the dolphins we see in the scene with Odysseus looking over the sea. That was happenstance. That was not planned at all. And so I just want to give praise to being able to go on site, like getting us off of those green screens that we see in so many of these like Marvel movies. And that being, those choices are what set apart, I think, true movie makers in a way. But my favorite scene in the movie, I don't know if this is going to be expected. Which scene do you think I'm going to call out here?
I don't know. The end scene, not the battle. What's it called? Just tell me what scene you picked for love here.
So I think you're right there with it. The scene for me that really stood out, or I think is worth like calling out, is the Trojan horse scene. So we do see bits of this scene at the beginning of the film. We see bits of like the Trojan War rather happening at the beginning of the film. But I think the way that they chose to tell the story of the Trojan horse through one of the surviving soldiers' perspectives was compelling. It's like the way the Trojan horse scene was visualized was also really gripping in a way to me. We hear him talk about how grueling and gruesome it was to be piled on top of each other inside of the horse for, I believe he said it was 2 days, saying that people were like drowning in the high tides and people were pissing and pooping on top of each other. And yes, while, the scene was really gripping to me, I found this to, yes, be a harrowing tale, but as a person with my HBCU education and like deep understanding of the experience of enslaved Africans who had to cross the Middle Passage during the transatlantic slave trade, which is documented as being a journey that can take from 6 weeks to 6 months. And these people were forced to be piled on top of each other in a similar way. They were sick, they were hungry, they were crowded. I did find that bit of the story to lose its edge for me because we watch these movies bringing to the experience our understanding of society, and in movies we're seeing the world reflected back to us through whatever story that the director or storyteller wants us to see. And I couldn't help but shake that, because that was the first parallel that came to me, was like, oh yeah, you're talking about being stuck inside of horse that was made out of the belly of a ship. I couldn't help but think, but there were slaves, African people who were enslaved, who had to do this for so much longer. Your little 2 days wasn't nothing, little white man. But, am I the drama in this, Tre'vell?
Yes. Yes, you are the drama. You absolutely. So I had the similar thought, to be clear. I did have the similar thought, but I just let the thought go on. I just thought that I don't because there were black people. I don't know if they were black. There were colored people in the horse. But I can see why you got that parallel. So
another parallel I think I want to call out, since we're here and I'm being dramatic, is there's a recurring fear throughout the film of the sea people. And I found that to be an allegory or a euphemism for the fear of immigrants, viewing, them purely as like pirates and scavengers. Did you have any reaction to like this ancient xenophobia and how it mirrors the way diasporas and migrants are treated today? Because we see Anne Hathaway's character, Penelope, her reaction to realizing that, oh my God, my husband was the sea people to other people's islands when he was coming there and essentially ravaging their land, trying to get back home. So like, did that parallel draw for you at all?
I think because we get to that point, that realization that you mentioned at the end, where it becomes clear that they are the sea people in question. Paired with the Cersei scene, right, in which she turns them men into pigs,
and then she's saying, as he's turning them back to humans, return to your
disguise. Return to your disguise. Oh yes, baby. I love that scene.
In that scripting.
I love that scene for those reasons. And so I didn't pick up on that element. Just in terms of like the potential like xenophobic immigrant, kind of story. But I did like the narrative complication, right? That is these sea people that we keep hearing about. Right, everybody's talking about the tale of the sea people who come into a place and ravage it, and to know and to learn throughout the story that is, the people who are supposedly also responsible for, safety and freedom for another sect of people, for various different reasons, have turned into these pigs. And so there are some levels to the storytelling that I did think were interesting, to your point.
Yeah, and this movie interrogates what it takes to be a winner in a war. And Odysseus, he has to reckon with like the overwhelming guilt of like deceit, invasion, sacrifice with the Trojan horse strategy. And for you, does the film successfully argue that to win a war, you eventually have to become the monster society deems shameful? Because we see him come in contact with a lot of monsters along the way, but at the end of the movie, like, he is the monster to many people and many islands along his journey.
I mean, the reality is, no shade, you gonna have to be comfortable being the villain in somebody's story.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, this is some life lessons for you from the Odyssey, okay? You're going to have to be comfortable being the villain in somebody else's story, because the thing that you're doing to free yourself and liberate yourself, right, could also be the very thing that is committing genocide against people. Mm-hmm. Right? Because let's not forget, they went into Troy, okay, and decimated everybody. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? Decimated. Great scene, by the way, but decimated everybody. They didn't try to protect people. They didn't try to, keep the women and children safe. They didn't try to, they pillaged that place. And they were pillaging a host of other places as they tried to get themselves back home. And so the fact that the prophecy is what the prophecy is, right, in the film, is quite interesting to me. This is what I mean when I say it kind of, it earns the 3 hours, because it does have all of these twists and turns that are actually quite interesting, contrary to Toy Story 5, which tries to do the multiple storyline thing as well. And I thought it was unsuccessful. Here, it is actually very successful as a tool that keeps you on the ride. Because as soon as I was getting tired of was that Scarlett Johansson?
Where? Ain't no Scarlett Johansson in this movie.
What's the white lady name? There's the white lady name who was on the island. Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron?
Yeah, Charlize Theron. That one.
Ooh, they're my different type of actress, child. But
they are different type of actresses. And I apologize. Okay. But you know, just when I was getting tired of their little pairing, it'll throw us into a story. So it ends up being quite a useful tool.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I really loved, how we were told the story. Each time we were being brought into these different pockets of the Odyssey or the journey itself from different storytellers. Like we got the movie opens up with, I didn't expect for Travis Scott to be the first face and voice we hear in this film.
I didn't even know that was that man.
Yeah, we essentially get him as a bard singing the song of Odysseus and telling the first bit of the story that we learn of him at the Trojan War. But then we get the perspective of one of the soldiers in the Trojan horse that I mentioned earlier. We get the perspective of Penelope when she's talking to him before he goes off to war. So we get so many different perspectives of the story told by Odysseus himself when he's on the island with Charlize Theron that I found to be a really interesting way to keep momentum in the movie so that we weren't just getting bored by one perspective or one voice throughout the film. And to that point of actors,
I was just about to ask.
Were there any actors or characters that you found the most compelling? Like, who was your favorite of them all? Because we got a lot in this movie.
To be quite honest, most of the acting didn't do anything for me. The lady who plays Cersei, like I said, I'm going to keep screaming her name. I do want to give Anne Hathaway a slight shout out. I do think that there are some monologue moments where she's doing her good acting. Okay. The men, I could have done without. Like the main men, you know, like Tom Holland and the other one, they were fine. I don't want to take anything against them, but also I don't think they brought something unique or special to the role. I think another fresh-faced little white boy could have done the same thing as Tom. And you know, we'll have another chance to see him in a week or so. So,
and Zendaya.
And her too. Who also something was off with her for me with her performance as Athena.
I want to make sure we say the name of the actor who played Cersei.
Yes.
That was Samantha Morton.
Thank you so much.
Who I think also did such a effective job at delivering what that character really needed in the arc of the overall Odyssey.
And comes in with her, right? Comes in and you don't see her ever again. But you remember that scene. You remember that performance. Any of the actors for you stood out?
Yeah, it's also worth noting that scene specifically was Christopher Nolan's first ever like horror scene in a film. And I think that was, a lot of people were interested in seeing how he treated horror. And I loved how he created that environment and like built up the tension with that genre in mind. We got a lot of different genres in this movie, with the horror, with the fantasy, with the voyage, with the romantic theme, with the absentee father. Like there was a lot of genres at work in this film. For me, the character that most moved me, who I found myself reacting and responding to the most, was actually Robert Pattinson's take on his character.
Sure. I'll give him a shout out.
I was truly annoyed and frustrated by Robert Pattinson's character. Annis, I think was the character's name. In the scene, the very last, well, one of the last scenes we see, it really comes to a head where I was like, oh yes, this is who this character is, where he's essentially like the privileged brat who is cowardly. And we see that play out in the last scene where he's hiding as other people are actually fighting and going into combat with Odysseus. And he just was biting in a way that I think was effective for his character and like moving through different interactions with Anne Hathaway in scenes, with Matt Damon in the scenes that he's in with Odysseus, with Tom Holland. Tom Holland, again, I think Tom Holland, he was swinging above his weight group, I'll say, because these actors, I don't think Tom Holland did a terrible job. I just don't know that his acting style fit what was needed for that character.
Well, he's young. You know what I mean? I know he's been acting
he's getting older.
Yes, but that's the point. We have to give, same with Zendaya, no shade. You know, we have to give them time to further settle into their skill set and their talent as actors. I agree with you. He could not hold a candle to Robert Pattinson, right? But also Robert Pattinson has come a long way since Twilight, huh?
And Robert Pattinson has been doing some really interesting work and making interesting choices. Like he was just in the drama with Zendaya.
He was in the drama. He was in this other movie last year called Die My Love with Jennifer Lawrence. Great roles. Great, unique, interesting roles that I found. So yeah, you know, it do take time and it do take a little nerve, but I agree with you. There, Robert is probably the one of the better Meanses in the mix. Overall, though, I will just say, and then we can move to our ratings or whatever. But like I do want to echo one of the Angelica's critiques, which is just about how the women overall are treated in this film and are scripted in this film. It was something that I felt, particularly considering the number of opportunities we get to give more agency and to gain more context from those women. Because they are super present, right? Anne Hathaway, half the movie is Anne Hathaway's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And out of the women, I think her character is the fullest formed. And for various other reasons, the other women, are not. And I think that's disappointing for Lupita and Zendaya's participation. I just feel like their characters didn't give, because of their characters could have given them so much more to work with if the characters were written, to be more.
Yeah. And I mean, I have to give him credit for giving the woman a bit more interiority in his version or interpretation of this than the original text. Because in the original text, the inciting incident for the Trojan War is just Helen of Troy's face being the reason for the war, whereas in this version of the movie, it's actually the trade route that they tack onto this for Agamemnon's actual motivation for this. And we see Lupita's character being disinterested in being fawned over by war and like apologizing to Penelope or having I forget Tom Holland's character's name, take back her apology.
It don't matter.
And even Anne Hathaway, like in the text, her character is just the wife left behind who's longing for her husband. But in this, we get to see her be like, no, I am the woman who has kept this society and this kingdom alive for 20 years. And now you just think that because my son is becoming a man now, all of that is worth nothing. And without a man, no one can rule this kingdom. Whereas she was like, I have actually been keeping this together and y'all are not at least respecting that. So I appreciated the effort.
Yes, and also we didn't see none of that 20-year journey of her leading.
Yeah.
She says it, but we don't see it. We see so much else, but we don't see that.
And Zendaya's character also, I was like, every time we saw her earlier in the movie, I was like, are they Dooning her, because in the first Dune movie, I remember being attracted to that film because Zendaya was cast, but in that first movie, she's just like a figure that comes in and out and like montages or sequences and isn't given much to say, but I was appreciative that eventually like that character does have an interesting arc by the end of the film, whereas in Dune, we had to wait for the whole second movie for her to have some type of, character presence. But yeah.
I don't, listen, I in some ways I feel like Athena was set up to be, a magical negress in this movie. And I just because, right, she's a god. But
that was also interesting too,
as a figment of his. We don't need to. I've gotten started. I can't. And I didn't mean to do. We already over. It's time to go.
But Tre'vell, we have to think about this though. Wasn't it interesting that like the idea of God being whatever you manifest? Or like the figure of God was Athena was the figure of Zendaya's character because of his specific experience, but that's not necessarily her
actual manifestation.
For other people. Yes.
I understand that.
Yes. I have one more thing I want to bring in before we end the conversation, though.
Go ahead.
We can't close this conversation without talking about the score. The score was incredible, specifically how the literal pluck of the bow was integrated seamlessly into the strings and bass of the score. That was the thing I mentioned really gave me like Sinners vibes, but for like ancient Greece. I got to get you to talk about the sound design. Did that elevate the movie for you in any sense? Like how was the score being integrated into the film working for you? Did it work for you? Was it a tool that you found to be effective?
I don't remember much of the score, if I'm being honest.
Oh.
But I think that's also because, me and my anxiety were focused on a lot of other things, in my viewing experience. I do remember calling out how, as you mentioned, the strumming of the bow, the few times that happens throughout the narrative, and in particular at the end when it happens, I do remember being like, oh, I felt like I felt that, in the theater. And overall, I do think that the score does help with the pacing of the movie. The score helps, you feel the moods and the vibes. And you said Ludwig did this too, right? Yeah. The Oscar winning.
Yeah.
Ludwig did this too. And so I can also see a mixture of like some sounds that I maybe didn't expect to be in this somewhat prehistoric ass kind of film that Ludwig is known to do in all his projects, right? You'll hear all kinds of instruments in his projects. So it definitely was a positive, but I was running from a sly cyclops in my head. So Yeah,
on the point of sound, the thing on the other side of that didn't get me was that doggone soundtrack song that played over the credits, which it was a James Blake song starting out, but then, of course, Travis Scott is in it. And I realized on my second viewing that what they were integrating into the song was actually like you hear the bard, Travis Scott's character, screaming like, "War!" and all this throughout the movie because that's the song of Odysseus that he's telling in the beginning of the movie, but it did not play or integrate as well into that song. I actually like laughed out loud when Travis Scott came into the song over the credits and you hear him saying "War." I found it to be so hilarious to me. So like, I don't know about that portion of sound, but that's all that Tre'vell's gonna give me time to interrogate with this movie.
Time to go. It's time to go. Raya have us here the whole time. Let's get into our seated, skip it, or stream it recommendations. Ray, I know where you gonna be at. Tell the people.
It goes without saying, like I think I've said enough for this to obviously be a seated for me for all the reasons I've previously stated. So Tre'vell, what about you? You're the one I'm most interested in hearing. Is it a seated, stream it, or a skip it?
I am gonna say seated. I think it is a worth it experience in the theater. Use the bathroom right when you see Nicole Kidman, go run to the bathroom. If you at the AMC, I don't think the Regal has that experience. But because it's 3 hours, listen, and you leave, you gonna miss something.
Put the drink down. You don't need a drink. You don't need to be
know what I
hydrated.
mean? So just slow yourself down. Just slow yourself down.
Okay, well, seems like we're back to our usual programming of having movies worth seeing. We got 2 seated in a row with last week's The Invite and this week's The Odyssey. But now, I am curious about what the people are saying. So how are that Rotten Tomatoes and Letterboxd looking over there?
Everybody likes the movie. It has a 95% over on the tomato meter, so super certified fresh. And over on Letterboxd, 4.3 out of 5 stars.
I thought it was going to be higher. My personal rating was actually a 4.5. Yeah, the Letterboxd bros are very much so like the film bros to me, where these types of movies, I'm like, y'all giving it. No, but they definitely skew for their faves in a way, or they over-index, I'll say, for their faves on these platforms. So I was like, this got to be a 5. But, of course, nothing can be perfect on these platforms. Anyway, with all that being said, I want to hear from a Black critic specifically. So who we got for our Black critic spotlight this week?
Our Black critic spotlight, we're going to spotlight editor-in-chief of nerdspin.com, Jason Miller, who says, The Odyssey never loses sight of the people at its heart. Nolan has made an epic that feels both ancient and strikingly relevant.
Yes. All right. So we have agreements here all across the board.
It's a good movie. Go see it.
A good movie worth seeing. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for our review of The Odyssey this week. If y'all have seen it, let us know in the comments below. How many stars are you giving it? Is it worth being seated for? Are you streaming it? Let us know. And don't forget to hit our inbox at holla@seatedshow.com with any additional comments you may have about this movie, other movies, what you want to hear us talk about. Tell Tre'vell happy birthday. I'll read out Tre'vell's birthday greetings in the next episode if y'all send them in. So email us at holla@seatedshow.com. And if y'all got some pictures that y'all want to share, Tre'vell, those friends out there,
please. Just do not do that. I reject that. Okay.
Also, don't forget to hit the like, comment, and subscribe button if you haven't already. Tre'vell, go ahead and move us on over to our next segment.
Yes. As always, you can join the Seated Show movie club at seatedshow.com/join. And we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, a round of Black cinema games and what's giving us good vibes. Stick around.
Let's do it. Back again, and now it's time for my favorite segment this week and every week, Black Cinema Games.
Pew, 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 pew.
All right, Tre'vell. So this week we are returning to the Canon Cousins, the Long Road Home edition, and we're looking at 5 movies with Black leads that master the art of the epic homecoming. Whether it's fantasy, history, or sci-fi, these protagonists endure grueling, high-stakes journeys just to find their way back, as Beyonce said on her song.
Find your way back.
Yes. Simply. Okay, don't get me distracted, child.
Okay, anyway, I'm gonna shut up.
I will give you the lead actors and their characters with the release year and a breakdown of the plot, and you just have to name the movie. Does that sound fair?
I can do that, I think. Let's see.
All right. So we're going to start light because, I like to give us a nice warm up here. And this is one of my favorite movies that I always say deserve more in the year 2022. It stars Viola Davis and Lashana Lynch. And look, if you want an epic sword clashing journey about making sure your people get back to the crib, this historical blockbuster hits the mark. After enemy forces capture a squad of their elite all-female warriors to sail them down the river, General Nansika and her fierce recruits go on a full-scale unauthorized rescue mission, crashing straight into enemy territory just to bring their sisters safely back home where they belong. Can you guess the movie, Tre'vell?
Now, yes, I agree with you. So much. This movie deserves so much more. This is The Woman King.
Yes, this is The Woman King. My God, it deserves so much more. It had a strong 3.4 out of 5 rating on Letterboxd. This action drama was like a major win for the culture. It gave us dark-skinned Black women with what I thought were some of the most beautiful natural hairstyles on screen. And it was a rare space to like lead a big budget historical epic that celebrated their physical power and ancestral history. So big ups to The Woman King. This is a movie. If y'all ain't watched Woman King, go watch this. And Tre'vell, you're starting off strong with 1 point on the board. Are you ready for your next question?
I love this for me.
All right, I think you're gonna get the next one too. Like, this is the movie I know you've seen. You've brought it up in recent episodes as a reference. So the star of this 1997 film is Djimon Hounsou. And if you want a heavy-hitting historical look at the Odyssey trope, this courtroom epic is it. After leading a fierce rebellion on a slave ship, Cinque spends the entire movie fighting through the confusing and hostile American legal system with one singular, unyielding goal: getting across the Atlantic and returning home to his family. Can you guess the film, Tre'vell?
You said court something or other, and I was like, that's not what I remember. But then I remembered. This is Amistad.
Yes, it is Amistad. You know, I had to make the clue a bit more textured for you, but it scored a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. And this film served as a major Hollywood breakout for Djimon Hounsou, who served, you know, intentionally delivering his powerhouse performance, speaking almost entirely in the Mende language to respect the history of the real life ancestors. And with that, Tre'vell, you got 2 points on the board. Are you ready for your next one?
I am. If you keep them like this, I'm a sweet honey.
All right, well, we're gonna get a little, I think this may be a challenge for you for round 3.
Oh, but now hold on, why would you do that?
Because, you know, we gotta push you a little bit. The movie stars Rihanna, and it came out in 2015. And if you want to lean into pure animated sci-fi road trip vibes, this one does the trick. Rihanna lends her voice to Tip, a fiercely independent teenager who avoids getting captured during an alien invasion and hitches a ride in a flying car with a runaway alien just to track down her missing mama and find a way back to where she belongs. Can you guess the movie? A hint is that this is, the title of this film is a central song in The Wiz, performed by Diana Ross. It's a one-word title.
I don't know. Let's go with Diana. What she perform?
She only had one true ballad in The Wiz.
Oh, a ballad? Oh, I'm gonna get this wrong.
Think about the song Diana Ross. Yes, it's Home.
Oh, she sing that too. Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yes, it is Home. I was like,
oh,
you know what? This. You got to get this.
I was thinking of the other song that Glenda sings. Is that Glenda sings at the end?
Yes. Yes.
Believe
with the stars
in yourself. Yes. As I say Glenda. Believe in you.
I said Diana Ross.
You did. It's not on you. It's on me, but I got it right.
We got you there. Yes, we walked you up to this one.
I appreciate it. Well, sometimes, you know what they say, you can lead a horse to water, but this one will drink, I promise.
Yes. All right, well, we got 3 points on the board. Round 4, this movie came out in 2019, and this one is a deeply poetic, localized take on the whole get back home trope. Instead of sailing treacherous seas, Jimmy is out here navigating the heavily gentrified streets of California on a skateboard, completely locked in on physically reclaiming the beautiful Victorian home his granddaddy built, proving that sometimes the journey home is quiet and emotional, and it's a grind. And this movie does star the fallen Jonathan Majors, but, you know, I think it was worth putting in here because it's a great film. Can you guess the movie?
What year was it again?
This movie was released in 2019.
19? Is this Last Black Man in San Francisco?
Yes, It is The Last Black Man in San Francisco. I knew this would be a deep cut, but I was like, Tre'vell know this movie, and if I mentioned Jonathan Majors,
it is a great. As soon as you mentioned Jonathan, I was like, okay, well that narrows it down. Praise the Lord.
I was like, I feel like if I say Jimmy Fails, that may not click immediately, but Jimmy Fails is the lead in the movie.
Oh, okay, sure,
exactly. But we getting you to the win, and so you got 4 points on the board. Are you ready for your last and final
Let's
round?
do it. Let's wrap this mother up like Motormouth Maybell says in Hairspray.
We're going to round this out with Chiwetel Ejiofor in this 2013 film. You got this before, so I figured you would get it now. It's like we're going into the birthday, so let's give Tre'vell something we know they will get.
Crazy.
And if we're talking about grueling, high-stakes Odyssey, just to make it back to your own front door, this movie is the definitive heavy-hitting blueprint. Solomon Northup gets straight up snatched from his free life up north and spends 12 whole years surviving the absolute worst of American history, keeping his eyes on the prize just to navigate his way back home to his family in upstate New York. Can you guess the film?
Yes, this is 12 Years a Slave.
Yes, it is 12 Years a Slave. It has a 4.1
Shout
out
out
of 5
to
on
Lupita.
Letterboxd. Of course, I was like, we have to bring this in some way. And this masterpiece made history when British-Nigerian filmmaker Steve McQueen became the first Black director to ever win the Academy Award for Best Picture. Historic. Very much so relevant to the time. So that's going to do it, Tre'vell. You got 5 points. You swept again. So I think Tre'vell is back. We're so back, baby.
We never left, first and foremost. Okay, y'all see what I gotta deal with?
Revisionist history.
Revisionist. Well, if they get to do it, why can't I?
You're right. All right. Well, we wrap this out, and Tre'vell is a winner, as we said. So let's close out with good vibes only. What do you got this week? This is the segment where we share with the people what's giving us good vibes this week. And Tre'vell, I feel like you are in particularly high vibes as we enter Leo season. So share with the people what is giving you specifically a good vibe.
Oh, yes. My vibes never go down, just for the record. You know what
I know
I
that's
mean?
right.
What that lady say? I'm high vibrational. What she said? High vibrational, please. My good vibes only recommendation this week is a little different than what we have done before, I think. My recommendation is Hot Links.
The movie?
No, Hot Links as in hot sausages. Okay.
The food.
Yes, the food. The edible.
Child, Tre'vell says since we can't eat salad, they're gonna blow their booty up with something else.
Listen, if only you knew. Okay, how much I do. But I have 2 brand recommendations for y'all. Now I'm from South Carolina, so my preferred hot link of choice is Rogerwood sausage, their spicy version. But as you all know, I live out here in Los Angeles now, and they don't know about no Rogerwood. And so I recently discovered Evergood. Evergood is a brand of sausages. They have a mild sausage and then a hot link sausage. Baby, that hot link sausage. Child, listen. Sometimes you just need a sausage sandwich. You know what I mean? Or a sausage dog. Okay, so you just get you a little hot link. Okay, I put mine on the grill. Okay, but you can put it on the stove just fine. Get you a little piece of bread. It's good for the butt end of bread. People always be like, what do I use with the butt end of the bread? You could do a sausage dog with the butt end of the bread. Or I've been freestyling lately and using Hawaiian rolls. Anyway, hot links is what's keeping my vibes on the up and up, honey.
Baby, this is very specific to Tre'vell, but I appreciate the nuance. Question. So I'm from Miami, and Miami is a city in Florida, and there's a very specific sausage that we love here. It's called the Garcia sausage. If you know, you know. There's a green box and there's a red box. Have you heard of Garcia sausages?
I have not. I'm about to Google those.
I may have to put you on to this because they're really good. I haven't had one in a long time, but yeah, the Garcia sausage is what's in for us down in Miami.
Beef smoked sausage. Oh, it's a beef sausage.
Now I want something. Anyway, my good vibe and what's giving me good vibes this week is, again, I have to bring this up a second time because it is so good. It's Law Roach's YouTube vlog, specifically the episode titled Giving People What They Want. Law Roach takes Schiaparelli from runway to the Odyssey red carpet.
30 minutes to get her out the dress.
Where's the dress? We have no more time. We're running out of time. Juliet, I'm looking for
They need to get that lady out that dress.
I know, we gotta get.
We have to get that dress off of her immediately. This is what you guys really want to see. This is what you wanted. So I'm giving it to you.
This, I mentioned, this is my second time highlighting his channel since Zendaya's press run for the drama, but he just gave us another absolute masterclass. Did you see this on the timeline, Tre'vell? People have been talking about this.
I have seen it. Yes, I have. It's a lot going on over there in Law Roach land.
And I love it. And so this specific episode of the vlog, it's a behind the scenes look at, like, I think is a truly iconic fashion moment for the culture. Law literally snatches a sculpted Schiaparelli gown straight off of a Paris runway, boarded a private jet, which people are complaining about, you know, global climate change and all that, with the dress, and he lands in London just hours later to put it on Zendaya for the Odyssey premiere. And seeing a Black queer man completely architecting the entire industry's timeline like this, to me, is hella inspiring. And instead of delivering like the standard red carpet looks that we get, Law is out here pulling off Devil Wears Prada fantasy level fashion miracles and showing us like the exact blueprint of how a visionary works. And honestly, Lord knows, we've been due for some elite fashion tea anyway. So Law Roach's YouTube vlog is what's giving me good vibes this week. And, you know, I think we've given people two different ends of the spectrum for what to bring their vibes up. And so while you're enjoying your sausage sandwich,
what are those ends of the spectrum, huh?
Food and entertainment.
Oh,
so this is something that people can go and grab them a sausage sandwich and go watch Law Roach's episode and enjoy this in memory or thinking of Seated Show here. So
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Yes.
All right, let's close out this show, okay? Thank you all so much for joining us this week for another episode of Seated. Okay, we deeply appreciate it. If you haven't already, okay, like, comment, subscribe, text the link to the video to your bestie. Okay, do that.
And, you know, while you're there, check out our Seated Movie Club. This episode, we had a lot of side conversations that happened before we started recording, and I'm going to piece that together for our cutting room floor segment that we have over on the Patreon. So go tap into the Seated Movie Club at seatedshow.com/join, where you can check that out. And Tre'vell, again, I have really appreciated, and I appreciate getting to unpack these movies with you each week. So thank you for tapping in and continuing to watch these movies in a very specific lens and jumping on tape with me to talk about them. So enjoy that birthday coming up. You know, we get into Leo season, and I want you to enjoy all that there is there. And so I think I've made an executive decision, actually, that we may take a break. So if you don't hear from us for a week, it's because I'm giving Tre'vell some time off to just enjoy their birthday.
Well, Tre'vell, so we'll see y'all back, honey.
Yes, but we'll see y'all back for the review of the Spider-Man No Way Home. That'll be our next review for sure. Now, it may not come when you want it, but it'll be there on time. So come back for Seated Show, and we will see y'all next time.
Amen and good night, okay?
If you enjoyed this episode, share with a friend. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a like and tap that subscribe button. And if you're listening, give us a 5-star rating and review us in your podcast app or wherever you're tapping in today. It'll really help folks find us as we grow. Seated is an independently funded production, and your support can help us go further. Consider becoming a card-carrying member of the Seated Movie Club at seatedshow.com/join, where we'll bring you more of this popcorn-worthy content, special events, and more. And how do we do all that we do? Well, you know it's not by ourselves. Our theme music was created by Buckroll and animation by Ashung Adi, with creative consulting by Jade Fox and publicity support by House of Heralds. This week's episode was edited by me, Ray Love Jr. Seated is a co-production of Slay Jean and 5011 Media. It's hosted and produced by Tre'vell Anderson and Ray Love Jr. and filmed on location at the Walk Good Yard. See you at the movies. Holla! I just opened up the inbox. We just wrapped the show, but of course, you know, Black people ain't never on time. But one of my homies actually sent in one of their favorite films of the year per our request. So I figured I'd just share here in the post credits from Josh J. You know DJ Josh J?
Yes, I have listened to Josh J on the YouTubes, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I feel like I've stumbled
Josh is
down.
a party turner. You probably been at a party that he spins at. Like he spins with Brian Behan and Hourglass out there. But I know Josh from Atlanta. Like we go back way back.
Was they just at a party this past weekend? That's the party I went to.
Yes, they're a party starter. Like they do all the parties. So you talk me that's the party that you were at.
I'm gonna look while you keep talking. Go ahead.
It's Josh J spelled with the A, so JASHJ. But Josh sent in his fave films of the year. He didn't follow directions. He sent a whole list of things. So his favorite movie so far is God Is, Obsession, I Love Booster, Send Help, and Michael. In parentheses, he said, screw the critics' reviews, LOL. So he said, thank you, Ray. So yeah, thanks for sending it in, Josh. Better late than never, but never late is better. Nevertheless, that'll do it. So, yeah, did you find Josh?
For the record, it was not Josh J at that party. It was Fannie Mae. Somebody's
I
known
love
by
Fannie Mae.
Fannie Mae. Anyway, I was gonna give you some. I've definitely seen Josh's stuff on the YouTubes.
Josh was probably at that party, Tre'vell, because they did a party together recently.
Okay, well, I don't know what that, but I just went to the flyer and I just read the names on the flyer. I don't know what the Josh J person looked like, but I wish them well. Maybe I do know what they look like because I did see them on the YouTube, I guess. Anyway.
But Fannie Mae is actually my grandma's name, my dad's mom, Fannie Mae Love. So
Fannie Mae is also, ain't that also the student loan people? That's used to be
that's Sally Mae.
Oh, Sally Mae, excuse me. Sally Mae. You're Sally Mae and Freddie Mac. That's what it was. I think.
Anyway, we're gonna get out of here. Bye, y'all.